Today we are going to be making these delicious red velvet cookies with white chocolate Hershey Kisses that you see here. And you're not going to want to miss any of this movie because I'm including a Simplest Smart tip where I talk to you about different food dyes and what you can use instead of the chemical dyes. And I also, that's right, I have a neuronutrition nugget for you. You may be wondering, what's in those cookies that's good for my brain? So don't miss out on my neuronutrition nugget. Let's get baking. I've been asked what is the best way to measure flour. The best way to ensure that your cookies, your cake, and your baked goods don't come out dry and crumbly is to scale your flour. However, not everybody has a scale. So today I'm going to show you a way that works almost as well as scaling it. And it's what I call the scoop, sprinkle, and level method for measuring flour. For the recipe that we're going to make, I need 3 1/2 cups of flour. Each cup of flour has 120 grams in it. So for this recipe, if I was scaling it, I would be putting 420 grams into my bowl. Let's pretend I don't have a scale. So we're going to do the scoop sprinkle. So first of all, what you want to do is the flour compacts as it sits. So kind of fluff it up. And then scoop up some flour and sprinkle it into your measuring cup until your cup is got more flour than it'll hold. Then I just take my finger. You could take a knife or something else. I just level it off with my finger and put that into my bowl. And I have, it's a little more than, it's like 140. So we're a little over using this method. Let's see if we can get it a little less with this next one. And just sprinkle it in there, and we're going to level it off. I'm going to zero it again and see where we're at. We're 132, so it's still a little bit over, but it won't make that much difference. And that's pretty much how you do it. So what else do we need for our recipe? We need 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half of a teaspoon of salt. That's close, maybe a little bit more. And 1/4 cup of unsweetened baking cocoa. We're going to mix that all together, and then we're going to set that aside until we're ready to add our flour to our red velvet cookies. The next step is we're going to cream together our sugar and our butter. To our mixing bowl, we're going to go ahead and add a cup of brown sugar. I use the light brown sugar. You could use a cup of granulated sugar, but I like to use the brown sugar whenever I can. And we are adding a cup also of butter. I happen to have 1 stick cut in half, so we're going to add 2 half sticks. Total amount of butter is going to be 2 sticks. And we're going to cream the butter together with our hand mixer here. You could use a stand mixer instead of a hand mixer. We're just using a hand mixer. And get that all creamed together. To the butter and sugar, we are going to add 3 eggs. These are large eggs. A couple of teaspoons of vanilla. using a gel food coloring here. It's called Red Red. It's a relatively thick food coloring and it's very concentrated, so you don't have to use quite as much. I'm going to use about a half of a teaspoon here in the... Then I'm going to go ahead and we're going to mix this in as well. See if I can get that, all that red food coloring off of there. Look at that. For our simplest smart tip, let's talk about food coloring. Food coloring, a lot of food coloring has chemicals and dyes in it, so you want to look for a natural food coloring. I like to try to find one that uses vegetable dyes in order to color things. A lot of times it's hard to find one that comes as a gel or a liquid if it's a vegetable dye, but if you can find them, go ahead and use them. I have a few here that I use. This has got a blue spirulina, which is a deep blue algae actually. I have another one here that's blue butterfly pea, which is a flower. Here's one that's a purple sweet potato extract. And this one is a pink, red, or actually red dragon fruit powder. So there's different ones on the market. They also come in, I also have a set of, it's called Chef Matcher Natural Colors, and it's also powdered. And what you can do if you use the powdered, you can add it to some water and just make a concentrated color. I've been able to use that in place of your commercial chemical ones. Whatever works for you though. So let's go ahead and add our flour to it, and we may need to add a little bit more color depending upon how red it is. So here's our flour that we mixed in, our baking powder, our chocolate, and our salt. I'm going to just mix these in here with my hand mixer. And that gives us a pretty nice red color for these cookies. I've gone ahead and preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and we're going to go ahead and get these cookies on a cookie sheet. Before we do that though, I have here powdered sugar. I'm combining a Kisses cookie with a crinkle cookie. So we're going to roll these cookies in powdered sugar to give it that kind of crinkled look. I've gone ahead and added some of my super color red dragon fruit powder to this powdered sugar to give it a little pink color on our cookies. So to make the cookies before we bake them, I have probably a little over a tablespoon scoop, maybe a 1.5 tablespoon scoop. Take a scoop of the cookies, roll them in a ball, and then roll them in the powdered sugar and put them on your cookie sheet here. It's a little messy. And then you're going to bake them for like 8 to 10 minutes at 350 degrees. So I have these all on my cookie sheet, and I'm going to re-roll them a second time in non-melting sugar. You can just roll them in powdered sugar. I've noticed that a lot of times the powdered sugar all kind of melts into the cookie when you're baking it. So if you have an outer coating or a second coating of non-melting sugar, or you could just roll them roll them in just non-melting sugar. Once they're rolled, I like to flatten them just a little tiny bit because they don't flatten out a whole lot in the oven. And I like kind of a disc to put that Hershey's Kiss on, and this is actually a white chocolate kiss instead of a chocolate kiss, dark chocolate kiss. So we're going to go ahead and put those in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. Actually 8 minutes is about perfect. And I'm doing a second pan with the cookies rolled in just the non-melting sugar to give you an idea of what the cookies look like when they're rolled first in the powdered sugar and then in the non-melting sugar. And while I'm making these cookies that I'm rolling in the non-melting sugar, let's talk about our neuronutrition nugget. As you suspect, there may not be a lot of neuronutrition in these cookies. There's some chocolate, which is really great for your brain, especially dark chocolate. It has flavonoids and antioxidants that help protect your brain against oxidative stress. In addition to that, it has another one of the brain superfoods in it, which is eggs. Eggs have a lot of the B vitamins in it that are good for keeping your nerves healthy and functioning, things like memory, cognitive function, and nerve conduction. In addition to that, they also have eggs also have choline, which is a precursor to acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is one of those critical neurotransmitters that help the cells communicate with each other. It is that help the cells communicate with each other. So the recipe has some neuronutrition, but it also has some things in it that aren't the best for your brain. I call them the white foods. Things like white flour, white sugar, and white rice. Of course, we don't have white rice in this recipe, but we have white flour in it. We also have another food that isn't the best for your brain or your body, and that is butter with its saturated fats. You could use vegan butter in place of the regular butter, or do what I do. Use these ingredients on rare occasions, usually on a special occasion, like maybe Valentine's Day or a birthday or a holiday, something like that. So you're not eating them, consuming them on a regular basis. You're just consuming them once in a while on rare occasion. So our first batch just came out of the oven. This is the batch that I initially rolled in powdered sugar and then re-rolled in a non-melting sugar. So you can see that the non-melting sugar kind of gives it that crinkle cookie effect. I'm going to go ahead and put one of the white Hershey Kisses, white chocolate Hershey Kisses. I actually had these left over, and they're called sugar cookie kisses, which there's white chocolate, and it looks like they have a little red and green sprinkles in them. They were actually left over from Christmas, and I thought they would be lovely in these cookies. This could actually be a Christmas cookie even. I'm making them as a Valentine's Day cookie, but they would also be a great Christmas cookie. So we'll finish adding these to our cookies, and then we'll get that next batch in the oven, and when it comes out, we'll be able to compare the difference between cookies that are rolled And if you roll it, if you don't have non-melting sugar and just roll it in powdered sugar, you won't see very much sugar on the outside because it will pretty much all melt into the cookie, but your cookie will still be delicious. That's it for this recipe, our red velvet white chocolate kisses cookies for a special occasion like Valentine's Day. If you enjoyed this recipe, maybe you had a chance to even cook along. Please click that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to sign up for notifications for more delicious recipes, most of which are brain healthy and have lots of good neuronutrition. See you next time on the Dr. Jonette channel.